Oh, man.
Hey, Old Man on the Mat crew. This is Tony Jones over here with another great episode of Old Man on the Mat. Guys, I'm not going to do a whole long introduction to the interview today because this is a guy that he's been on my list for years. I follow this guy all around, and I don't, like I said before, I don't have a lot of guys that I consider idols, and I don't use that word lightly. But this guy has been one of the guys I followed throughout UFCs, watching him coaches. He's one of the most elite coaches out there. And you guys know him pretty well anyway because he's everywhere. This is John Hackleman, the owner of Pitt Martial Arts and Fitness over in Arroyo Grande, California. John, thanks for coming today, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me,
Man, how's life out there? You're in Cali. How's life out there?
I mean, as Cali goes, it's a good area. I'm lucky. I mean, as a state, I'm not crazy about the state, but
Yeah.
this is a really good little town. They've come together, and we've had some stuff here, but all in all, man, I wife wants to move to, Texas, Arizona, all these other places, and I was like, I'm just too old, man. I'm just here. Let's just ride it out, and if we got to, we do some fighting, but whatever. I just want to stay here.
That's that fighter spirit.
It's nice here. It's nice.
That's cool. I've been to California maybe a couple times just in the layovers. I never really went out and did too much, just layover like going to Hawaii or something like that. I always wanted to go visit there and see some of the wine country.
Yeah, I'm from Hawaii, so.
Yeah, I noticed that, man. Yeah, so, well, let's jump in this, man. Do you get back to Hawaii a lot or no?
Yeah, we go back at least once a year. The first week in November, I do my black belt testing there. And then this year we're going to go again in May. So we're going to go in May and in November because we're going to go visit two of my grandkids. I got two new twins. Well, they're not twin. They're not new, but they're babies in Hawaii. So I'm going to go, and I get to go home, see some of my peeps, and we always do some of the stuff I did growing up. We go to my old neighborhood. We go to my old boxing gym. It's still there. We go to my old, places where I used to do my training and stuff. That's pretty much all I did when I was a kid. But, so yeah, we go at least once a year.
That's cool, man. I was in Hawaii last year, but I was in Oahu. Is that close to where you are? Oahu? Okay, awesome, man. And I loved it there, man. I just drove all around the coast or whatever you want to call it, and it was beautiful, man. I'm telling you, because I'm in Illinois here, so it is what it is.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm here more than there.
Right.
And to be honest, I love Hawaii. I love going to visit, but I'd rather be here than Hawaii too.
Really? California over Hawaii? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, to each his own. I'm looking to get out to the Smoky Mountains in Gatlinburg, Tennessee area, and hopefully I'll be able to move out there. But we're still here for now, man. Now, how did you start? How did you start? Because I know, I'm sure everyone does. I don't know if anybody follows you, and I'm sure they do. Because like I said, I've seen you back in the, the 1980s, whatever, 1990s, I should say, mid to 1990s when you were at the UFC and all that stuff, and I followed your system. And to recently, I saw you doing some punching on a bag on some video. I think it was on Instagram. And I'm like, he still hits like a truck. How did everything start with you, man?
I grew up in Hawaii, and Oahu, which is basically there's like what was it, the 8 islands, and between the 8 islands there's 1 million people.
Wow.
And 900,000 of them live on Oahu. So
what?
Oahu is, and it's not the biggest island by far, but it's a rough place. Hawaii, Oahu is a rough place, especially, not especially anywhere. So like you go to country park, like Waianae, Waimanalo, it's pretty rough out there. And then in the city, there's a lot of, it's pretty rough,
Wow.
people like to fight in Hawaii, and it's you know, there's a eclectic blend of ethnicities and you know, races and everything in Hawaii, and much more than here,
Okay.
for a lot of reasons. But there's a singular dislike for the white race in Hawaii.
Really? Really?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Uh, just look up Haole or Kill Haole Day, or you know
Kill
how yeah
Howley?
Kill Haole, Haole, Haole.
Okay.
There's just, I mean, it's just they don't like the Howleys, you know. A lot of, you know, I mean, it's kind of turned that way in a lot in our politics, you know.
Yeah, I see
White,
that now,
white
man.
middle, white middle class or white straight male or whatever. But in
And the
Hawaii, it's
movie.
just in Hawaii, it's just only period. Whether you're male or female or you know straight or gay, it's just they just don't like white, you know.
Wow,
And
I didn't know that. Holy cow.
so growing up wasn't, you know, you always feel that growing up, especially in the city, you know. Um, there's you can tell, you can tell. I mean, even teachers, you can tell they just don't like you, you know.
Wow.
And I heard, and we went to so in grade school, we moved, my parents moved, my dad moved me over there when I was, moved us over when I was like 4 years old, 5 years old. And so I went to school there, obviously. Um, and, in elementary school, I just always heard about the roughness of the intermediate. They call it intermediate school. They call it middle school here, but in
Okay.
Hawaii they call it intermediate, seventh, eighth, and ninth grade. And
Gotcha.
so in elementary school, I just always heard how rough it's going to be there, and my elementary school wasn't really a rough school, but the intermediate school I was going to go to was very rough. So I always heard about it. So like fifth and sixth grade, I was like, oh shit, I got to go next year. I got to go fucking Kill Holiday thing and find out how that is. And I used
Wow.
to get nervous. I would go in my room and I would practice on, practice all this, just punching, but I didn't really know anything. So I started getting more nervous. I think it was the end of fifth grade or something. And I started looking in the phone book. My mom, she wasn't having it. She was like, "Oh, you're exaggerating. It's not going to be that bad." Um, so I looked on my own, like 10 or 11 years old. I looked in the phone book and I found a martial arts school. And I called it and I took two buses. I had to transfer. So I had to
Wow.
take two buses and I was, like, I'll say I was 11. Um, and and I took the bus and I walked in. I got the address and I walked into this room with a heavy bag and a makiwara. That's all there was. A heavy bag and
Oh
a
yeah.
makiwara.
The
And I
hard
just
pad on the
remember,
wall.
I remember this is it. And there was some people training. It was tiny. It was like less than 1,000 square feet. It was probably like
Wow.
600 square feet.
Wow.
And my gym now is 10,000 square feet. So I
No
mean,
change.
yeah. So it's a compare if I can compare the two. So
Wow.
so I walked in and I just like it was full of local guys, wearing black keys, and most of them were big, and and they were just a bunch of rough guys. There's no kids classes back home, back then.
Right.
This is like 1970, 1971. Um, and I just thought, this is it. This is gonna be the rest of my life. I could
Wow.
tell that I was gonna be there. I wasn't even done my first class, and I knew that this was my life. And
Really? Wow.
yeah, and then my instructor never charged me again after that first month. I think it was like $20 or something the first month, and
Wow.
then I found out later he was just a super rough guy. He spent a lot of time in jail. In fact, when I
Holy
started
cow.
training with him, he'd already been in prison. I think once or twice. I know he was in two more times since I started training there. But
Whew.
he ran the gym as kind of a place where that was his legal activities.
Okay.
And he was a super rough guy. I mean, he used to. I mean, if the light turns green and you're at a red light and the light turned green, and you beep your horn to tell him to go, he's gonna get out of his car and beat the shit out of you. I mean,
Oh my
he
God.
was he was not a nice guy, um,
Wow.
but he was nice to me. He was very good to me, and he took me under his wing at like 11 years old, and I just knew this was my life, and that was my life. That was 1970, say, and I was there until he died in 2001. I was
Oh
his
wow. Okay.
student, and it changed everything. And that training was so rough back then. It was a rough school. Kaji Kempo was a really rough martial art, and it was formulated in Hawaii in 1947. And it was a mixture of karate, jiu-jitsu, judo, boxing, wrestling, and it was a mixture of everything. And it was a rough art too. It was made to beat people up. That's why
Yeah.
the martial art. It wasn't like Miyagi. It was more like Cobra Kai.
Right.
And
Man.
it wasn't to defend their life and their property. Kaji Kempo was formed to beat up the white sailors and army guys that were in Hawaii. After World War II, there was a lot of military guys that were still stationed in Hawaii, and locals didn't like them at their bars and picking up on
Holy
their women
cow.
and stuff. So they started this martial art called Kaiju Kempo, and it was just these five guys that got together and started training together and developing this art. It's pretty famous now. You Google Kaiju Kempo, there's fucking thousands and thousands of schools all over the world. Um,
Holy cow.
but back then it wasn't as popular, and it was a rough art. So, once I started, I never looked back, and that's the only thing I've ever done. I played like little league baseball for like 1 year, and that's about it. I mean, it
Man.
was that. That was my whole life. That's all. That's the only sport I did.
Wow. And that's you were how old again when you started?
Um, I did a couple. I was 11 when I went to Godine's. His
Okay.
name was Godine, Walter Godine. That's my first. That's the one I stayed. But before that, I was looking around. I found a little Shotokan school at the YMCA,
Yeah.
and then something else, judo, and then I was 10 then. And so then by the time I was 11, I was already. That was it. That was the last place I ever looked, and I was like I said, I was with that place till 1971, and
Okay.
that's when Walter Gooding died.
Oh man. Wow. And so this is the same thing as I see you have Hawaiian Kempo, right? So is it the same
I
is it
changed it.
you changed? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, what happened was when I got in the army, um, I um, I moved to LA to become a professional fighter, and I boxed and did some other sports, fighting sports. Um, but I also had two kids, and it just, I was a tough guy, but I wasn't. I didn't think I was going to make a lot of money in boxing and kickboxing, which was I was much better at kickboxing. There was no money in kickboxing back then.
Right. Right.
So I had to support these kids. So somebody talked me into going to respiratory therapy school.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So I went to school, struggle. It was a struggle with two kids and a wife that didn't work and um, just trying to make it. It was financially it was killer. So I was still fighting at the time. I became a respiratory therapist and had a house. I had a little nicer house now, and training was tough, because I was working. I was working still as a respiratory therapy. Now I was back in college because I wanted to become a registered nurse too.
Oh wow.
So then I was trying to, I had to work full time. Obviously, I had two kids to support. So I put a little gym in my backyard, and that's so I could train. In case I had a fight coming up, I could train in my backyard. I didn't always have to go to the gym because, I was working graveyard shift, which is the night shift. And
Wow.
so I had a gym in my backyard. And then next thing you know, some of my coworkers found out about it, and they came and trained there. And one guy named it the Pit. He goes, man, this place is tiny. This is like a pit. I'm gonna call it the Pit. So that's when my gym got its name. That was like
That's
nine,
awesome.
that was like 1985, and
Wow.
it was always called the Pit after that. And it did evolve from there, but it started off as like a little 400 square foot gym in my backyard. And I wanted to teach Kaji Kempo, but I didn't want to keep some of their proprietary movements. There's
Okay.
these things called katas or forms,
Mm-hmm.
and they're prearranged and they're choreographed, and they really have nothing to do with fighting. They're just something that I don't know why karate guys keep bringing them around. They have nothing to do with karate, nothing to do with fighting. They're just
Right.
little
Right.
movements that kind of look like a dance, and I didn't want to do them anymore. I didn't want to bring that into my what I was teaching or training. So I talked to my instructor about it, and he said, just call it something else, man. Just make your own system. You go out on your own and make your own system. You're good enough.
Right.
So trying to think of the name Kempo, which is, in Kaji Kempo, it just means law of the fist. So I thought I like that,
Okay.
but I don't want to. There's already a Kempo out there, a regular Kempo. So I'm gonna change it up. I'm gonna call mine Hawaiian Kempo.
Okay.
So that started in 1985, and um, it's done pretty well.
It's big, man. I remember seeing it on. Maybe it was YouTube. This was a few years back, and you did a ceremony over in Hawaii.
Yeah,
I think you were promoting some guys. I think Chuck Liddell was there, and a couple other
yeah,
guys. And I thought that was amazing because you guys are outside, just enjoying the outside, going after it. It was pretty cool, man.
yeah, yeah. Last year before last, we had 75 people show up
What?
for the belt tour. We do it every first of November, first week in November every year.
Wow.
So yeah, it is pretty cool. Chuck comes sometimes, Glover comes sometimes. Sometimes
Yeah.
Chuck and Glover come. You know,
Wow.
it's pretty
How,
cool. It's pretty.
how many black belts do you have underneath you? I know that don't means to a whole lot, but I just wanted to know that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't even know. I'm gonna go on a limb. I don't have very many because it is kind of hard to get your black belt with me. But
Yeah.
I've been I've been doing it since '85, so I probably have I'll say 60.
No, that's still a good number. That's a good number, man. In a hard system, it's not like I'm not going to knock any art, but it's not like Taekwondo. They give out black belts every other week that I see
Yeah,
now. But I'm not knocking it. They do their thing, and it is what it is. But
yeah, yeah,
you do the pit jitsu too? Where did that
yeah.
name come from?
Um, just because we go to the ground so much, but there's punching and knees and elbows and eye gouging and biting and in the street, whether it's on the ground or the. But I liked a lot of the jujitsu moves, but I don't want the jujitsu. Brazilian jujitsu is a sport, and
Right.
that's what it is. It's only a sport, just like baseball or boxing. Boxing is only a sport. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can knock people out in the street and you can choke people out in MMA, but there are rules, and in the street there aren't. So I just took, I got together with Cesar Gracie. I don't know if you know who that is.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah.
Cesar Gracie is one. He's the Diaz brothers.
Yep.
Nate and Nick. But we were good friends, and he he we decided to call it Pit Jitsu, so it was a combination of both.
Okay.
So so that's where that came. It's just basically it's just Hawaiian Kempo, the ground part of Hawaiian Kempo. And we made some videos in it, and then pretty much he does his thing and I do mine. But
Yeah.
basically all it means is once the fight hits the ground in our system.
Okay. Gotcha. And it's not a whole bunch of, like you said, dancing around. There's some eye gouges, some biting, some everything else, street fighting. Okay.
Hawaiian Kempo is a street art.
Yeah.
But it's very close to MMA, and that's why people like Chuck and Glover, they can do Hawaiian Kempo classes, and with 97% of my students are Hawaiian Kempo students that are only concerned with fitness and health and street survival and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then 3% of my population wants to fight in MMA ever. So, even when I had my team like Chuck and Glover and, Von Flew and,
Yeah.
and, just some of the, other guys, well known, that Court McGee,
Yep.
Ramsey, um, I still have fighters, world famous fighters and stuff, and we're in this little town, Arroyo Grande, but still 97% of my students were, either kids or adults that just want to learn, how to protect themselves and how to stay in shape. And, 3% of, even when I was at the top of my MMA, when the biggest, I had, guys from AKA training, Cain Velasquez, the Diaz brothers,
Wow.
all kind of guys were coming. It was still only 3% of my time and my energy and my students and my bandwidth.
Wow.
So most of my stuff is always Hawaiian Kempo and not MMA.
Okay. Man, you had some big names come through. And I'm not surprised. Like I said before, I followed you since was the mid to late '90s, man. To see the stuff you were doing, I always thought you were, I'm not trying to do any blowing sunshine or anything, but this is the honest truth. I used to think this guy's a brawler because you can tell by a guy's posture, you can tell by their hands, and I'd see you come out there, I'm like, this guy's a fighter, man. I want to see what he's doing. But it sucks I didn't get a chance to see you do any fighting yourself, though, man.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't. The fighting was long gone, but yeah, I just wanted to train people in how to, because it was for me, it was my biggest fight ever. This is weird because it's Glover's last name. Then the guy that I got in my first, not my first, but the fight that changed my life was in I'm gonna say eighth grade. It could have been ninth, but I'm gonna say eighth grade. And a guy, fucking Howley. They don't like the Howleys,
Yeah, yeah.
And he said, "Fucking Howley, give me your lunch money."
Oh,
And we were in the cafeteria, and the lunch money was a quarter. We all had a quarter, and that's what it was. And then we go through the line, and we get, the cafeteria workers would we put the food on our tray. But and training with Godine, who was making me so much tougher. I mean, say I'm 12, 13 now. I mean, being with Godine for like the first 6 months, it changed everything with me.
wow.
My life changed with Godine. I had my first tattoo at 11,
Are you
but
serious? Holy cow.
I swear to God, I
Oh,
swear to God.
wow.
But it was a rough group, and Godine, I mean, if you study him at all, he spent a lot of time, you know, in jail and stuff, prison, but he was so good to me, and he just mentored me into how to be, and minus the crime.
Yeah.
I looked up to Goodings for everything. I knew because I had a really moral. My dad was a straight laced moral guy. He was a West Point. He went to West Point. He was in World
Yeah.
War II.
Holy,
He had a moral compass that was just crazy good. You
wow.
know, but Godin was the tough guy. It's like good cop or bad cop or rich dad, poor dad, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
It was just the opposite. So I had this dad that was so straight laced and so organized and so never commit any crime. And then there was Godin where he's like, fuck it, don't let anyone take your lunch money. Kick the fuck out of them.
Serious night and day,
So
man.
yeah, and this guy and he had for his lunch money, for my lunch money, I said no, which shocked the hell out of him, and it shocked everyone around too, because I'm a skinny little blonde, hungry kid. Usually when he was a bigger guy, a lot bigger, and usually the bigger guys, you say okay.
Right, right.
So I said no, and next thing I know, we're fighting right there in the cafeteria, and it got broken up. And the teacher broke it up, and he yelled at me, and he said, "Back campus, back campus tomorrow, 3 o'clock." And back campus was where the buses picked up that's where the bus stop was, and that's where
Yeah.
all the fights were. If there was a fight, it would be at the back campus. You go to the back campus.
Yeah. So you knew
Um,
what was about to go down.
so I knew, yeah. So I went home. I was nervous. I was practicing all night, practicing my moves, and I went to martial arts that night. And I was like practicing what I was gonna do because I knew I was gonna get in a fight. So I went back campus at 3 o'clock the next day, and there was a bunch of people. There was like a group of people, and that was it. That was my first real fight. The guy was bigger than me, tougher than me. He had a reputation. He was one of the class, the school bullies,
Yeah.
and we went at it, and I beat him. I beat him. I beat him. He was bleeding. He was on the ground, and and
Oh man.
the can the principal and the vice principal came, and they, I think they're the ones that broke it up because I had to go in the vice principal's office and get a spanking.
Get a spanking?
And I
Oh
got
wow,
a
back then.
spanking.
Yeah.
Yep, he gave me the paddle. He gave me the paddle.
Yeah.
But that was it, and there was nothing. He didn't, be like, you didn't have to go be on a fucking watch list and shit as a terrorist.
Right.
Like now you
Right.
get in a fight in school, they think you're a terrorist, and the teachers say never fight, never fight. They forget that's how we learn, that's how we grow, that's what little boys do. They fucking
Amen.
argue. If they get in an argument, they get in a little fight. It's not the end of the world. It's the
Yeah.
beginning of their life. You
Exactly,
know,
brother.
and
Amen.
this guy, this changed my life. It changed my life forever because nobody ever picked on me again in that school. Then in high school, that reputation followed me. I was the
Wow.
guy that beat up, Teixeira, and then nobody ever picked on me. Even though I was a white kid, I could, I was never picked on again. And that followed me into the army, followed me into
Wow.
it was
That's
just,
awesome.
it changed everything. Martial arts changed my life, and I'll never forget that. And Walter Godin, man, he might not, he might have gotten a lot of trouble, but I owe him, so much. It's crazy.
It was a foundation for you moving on, man. That's awesome. I think it's so cool when we have these kind of stories where somebody has a defining moment. You look at a person like yourself or anyone's at that level, you always want to know how they get there. What was that moment? And that
Mhm.
was yours, man. That's dang awesome,
Mm.
man. And you
Mm.
went into the army too, right?
Yeah, I went to army during the hostage thing, the Iran hostage thing.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I thought we were gonna war, like with, and I had one kid. I had one kid, and um, we were just living, trying to, I was working full time, and I was trying to get some fights in,
Yeah.
and I was married with, one kid, and then the Iran thing came, and boom, joined the army, and had another kid while I was in the army, but they gave the hostages back.
Right.
And I was in the army. I was in the infantry, because my dad wanted me to go in the infantry. And I was like, Dad, I scored higher on the test. I can do computer stuff. And he said, No, you got to go in the infantry because that's what I did. So I
Okay.
was like, Okay, all right. So I went in the infantry, which is, the grunts, and
Yeah.
got to my duty station, which was Honolulu or Hawaii, Hawaii, because they asked you where you want to be put in. And I said, right here, I want to stay here, um, so I stayed in Hawaii, but they gave back the hostages. So I went to my first sergeant because I was like, okay, I joined to go to Iran. There's no Iran. I don't want to just stay in the army. What am I going to do? Like do KP duty and guard duty and stuff?
Right.
So I go to my First Sergeant Marcus Weary. I love this man, Marcus Weary. He passed away.
Oh,
I talked to his son now. I'm actually in touch with my first sergeant's son,
that's
and he
cool,
lives he
man.
lives in Hawaii too. Marcus Weary Jr. So I asked him. I said, "Wait, no, there's not going to be a war, and I got a kid, and shit. I don't really belong here. Can I just get out? Can you just let me out?" And after he got done laughing, like 10 minutes later, he was fucking dying laughing. He was like, "No, you actually can't get out until your time is up." So he goes, "But I know who you are because I saw you boxing in the Golden Gloves. so why don't you try to box for the Army since there won't be a war to go to? And I was like, what does that mean? He goes, well, there's a team. The Army has a team, and if you make the team, that's all you have to do. You don't have to do guard duty. You don't have to do anything but box.
Really? Okay.
I was like, okay, let's go. And how do I do that? And he facilitated him and my sergeant, mate, my captain,
Yeah.
Captain Kirk. He was
Ca-
a real athletic guy. He appreciated, that I was a boxer and stuff. So him and First Sergeant Weary made some calls. Next thing I know, I'm going to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and I tried out for the boxing team, which
Oh
I made.
man, that
Yeah,
fast, huh?
and I made it, and that's all I ever had to do for the days in my Army. I fought for the Army team. I made the Army team, and then I boxed for my division, and that was my entire time in the Army. And then,
Holy cow!
so yeah,
Oh
it,
man.
it was pretty cool, and when I got out, then that's when I turned pro, and then the pit came along, and the pit was my biggest thing. What my fight career, I was tough. I was good. I won the Golden Gloves. I turned pro. I fought for Don King a couple times, and
Did you
I won a
really, Don King? Holy cow!
yeah, I won a couple, not MMA, kickboxing titles. I fought no holds barred fighting, but I was good. I was tough, but I wasn't great. I wasn't a Chuck Liddell or a Glover Teixeira.
Yeah.
If that came along when I was fighting, if UFC came along when I was fighting, I might have made it to the UFC, but I didn't have the everything going on that people like Chuck and Glover. I didn't have that. I didn't have that X factor, like they
Mm-hmm.
have.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
that those guys, wherever they came along, they would have made it because they were that good. They had whatever. They just have that X factor.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
I know what
have
you mean.
kind of a maybe maybe I don't know a different letter, maybe a P factor or something.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I was a tough guy. I was a good fighter. I was pretty smart. I went through college, and but I didn't have that. Like them fighting. But
Yeah.
I
I know
did
what
it.
you
But
mean.
I did it as a trainer, so I'll take
Hey, that's good. With great men need people behind them, right?
it. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Right.
I'm a
Well,
much better trainer than I was fighter.
but sometimes that's how it is out there. You have the guys who
Yeah,
train the best, and that means you're still the
I'm
best,
fine with
right?
that. I'm fine with that. Yeah, I
How, how,
fought enough to. I fought enough to get a reputation to be a tough guy. I wasn't, I wasn't like when I watched those guys train and just watch them in the dressing room, how nervous I was in the dressing room and how not nervous guys like Glover and Chuck were. They just were like so calm and laughing and joking and
really?
walking. Oh yeah, walking up to the cage. When I used to walk into the ring, I was like fucking just, when they're walking out, they're laughing. Hey, what's up, coach? You having a good time?
Oh
Just
my gosh.
yeah. So it was a little different.
Yeah, and they're about to go in there and fight for their lives, quote unquote, and they're just like, "What's
Yeah,
up?"
yeah, that's it. Exactly.
How did you get linked with the UFC? That's when I first saw you, like a couple years before the Chuck Liddell. So
Yeah.
how'd you get linked with the UFC?
Well, you know the story with Chuck, right? How I got Chuck.
No, I don't know that one. No.
Okay, so me and Chuck basically were the tough guy. There's like five little towns in the Central Coast, and um, he came from San Luis Obispo, which is the that's where the Cal Poly is, and so it's a college town. I
Okay.
lived in Arroyo Grande, which is an agriculture town. It's just a little, it's more rural. There's a lot more farming. It's a littler town. There's like
Yeah.
1/3 of the population, um, but their town, it's the town I was in, and we heard about each other because we're the two tough guys in the Central Coast. The one he was in San Luis. I was in Oro Grande. So he was doing traditional karate,
Mm.
and his instructor called me and didn't like. I opened the pit, and it was a little in my backyard gym, but it was a rough. It had a rough reputation. I moved up here in 1990, and I have 3 acres, and the gym is 1,000 square feet. That's in my backyard,
Yeah.
and it had a little reputation. We got the pit logo, so a lot of my guys got pit tattoos, and they got pit jackets, and
Oh
it
man, that's
was it
awesome.
was pretty well known. And
That's
so he,
awesome.
he called me. He wanted to let me know that he wasn't crazy about what I was doing. He thought I was giving a bad name to martial arts.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and so I said, well, he was, and I know you do the sports stuff, but we do the real stuff, and I don't appreciate what you do because I mean, if push came to shove, you couldn't really defend yourself in the street like I could, and it's like
Right.
I said, what? So I, I just said, why don't we find out? Why don't I come to your gym and let's have a no rules fight and
Oh
let's
my
see who
gosh.
wins. And he was like, okay. And he told me, can you come this Friday? I said, yeah. So Friday 7 o'clock, boom. I show up at his gym with my dad, who wanted to
Oh
come with
man.
me. My dad lived with me now. He retired and moved here from Hawaii, and he lived on my property, and he lived here till he died. But anyway,
Oh man.
um, he came with me. So I show up and I said, okay, I'm ready. Where are we going to do this? And he goes, well, I kind of hurt my back this week. So, I'm
Okay.
going to have you. So I said, well, okay, we could do it another time. He goes, well, no, actually you're going to go with one of my students. And he pointed to Chuck.
Okay.
So I said, okay, so, all right, let's go. So I meet Chuck and I was like, okay, Mohawk, okay, whatever. So we started going at it, and basically, I don't know who won, but he asked me to train him after that. So,
That says a
um,
lot right there.
yeah, so he came up and said, can I start training with you? And I said, yeah. I gave him my card, and he showed up in my backyard gym the next day, and I think he was a freshman in college, and he never left. So that was it.
Wow.
That was it.
Oh man. How the instructor take all that? The other instructor.
Yeah, he is kind of a douchey guy. He just kind of I don't even remember what he said. But Chuck, I know I gave Chuck my card, and he showed up the next day at my gym, and he never left. So
That's awesome. That's a great story. I love that, man. So I take it that you won, in other words. I'm not gonna say that, but
so
proof is
it's
in the
in his
pudding, right?
book. It's in his book. He wrote about it. Chuck has a book, and he wrote
Yeah.
about it. He has that story written out.
That's cool, man. And so when UFC heard about you guys, was that like long time after that? Because he was still a young guy though, right?
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
then he wanted to start fighting, and I was kind of just want to train guys for fun and for for the street and just for whatever. I don't want to end up in corners. And I had so many fights by that time. I had so many fights, and
Wow.
I was kind of over it. So I said, why don't we just train?
Yeah.
Have a fun. You work. You're gonna finish college soon. He's gonna become a CPA, and
Oh,
that was his goal then. He was in accounting. He's got his degree in accounting.
okay.
Chuck did. So, but he wanted to fight. He said, I really want to fight. Can you train me? So we started doing kickboxing, and then this no holds barred stuff came along, and so Chuck wanted to try that because he had a wrestling background too, and the way we fight's really pretty similar. So he wanted to do it so bad. So I was like, let's okay. The next thing Dana's looking at him to Dana's, he's one of Dana's favorites,
Yeah.
and it just went from there.
Wow. So saw him through the system. That's pretty cool, man. Now
Yeah,
because you were also on one the coaches on one of the when they fought for the teams and stuff too, right?
Ultimate Fighting. I was on
The
two
Ultimate
two
Fighter, yes.
seasons. I
Okay.
think I was season 11 and season 19.
Okay. Man,
Yeah,
and
the
you
one with BJ Penn. BJ Penn was one of my, we're both from Hawaii and we're good friends. So I did the season he was on.
Okay, because you're the blue team. I remember that very well. You were blue, right?
I I don't remember. I'm
You don't
old.
remember,
That's one thing. But
man.
yeah, I think yeah. So yeah, I did Ultimate Fighter 2 seasons.
Okay. Now you're still training because, like I said, I'm seeing your videos,
Yeah,
and man, I saw one you were talking about learning how to throw a knockout left hook, and I'm watching you hit this bag, and you're doing that every day.
I train 5 days a week,
Oh my
so
god.
without missing, and I hit the bag every every workout. Bag is a big part of my this is my big part of my workout. You know, it's my skill training and my drill training, and then I do some strength training stuff, and then I do some uh, cardio.
Okay. Now with your, I'm not saying at our age. I'm trying, like I said before, I'm trying to coin the phrase at our experience level. Do you train a lot different than you did before, or anything?
No, no, not because of my age, because of I just it's weird because I've had so many fights, trained for so long, for so hard, and I got my first ever knee injury at
Oh,
64 years old.
your first at
My
64?
first
Holy
64.
cow! At
Yeah,
64, your first time getting an injury, a knee injury. Holy
I've never hurt my knee, and everybody's like knee this, total knee, ACL, MCL. You know, I've never had a knee injury, and then kicking the bag, just one day kicking the bag, just tweaked a little bit. I was like, oh, it hurts a little bit, and then next thing you know, I went and got a MRI, and then there was a tear in the meniscus,
oh,
which is as painful as I think it is. It's like it's the least it's like the lowest level injury you can get, period, in the human body. It's like
really?
you know,
It's the
it's
lowest?
like it's the highest surgery. I think everybody gets this.
Yeah,
It's basically sticking like a needle in, and they just clip it, and you're. But I haven't had surgery yet, so I wanted to give it like a year of just training, rehabbing it, and then I'm going to get a surgery.
yeah.
Um, but I know, so my training has altered a little bit right now, but this is the first time in my life that I've altered my training.
That's crazy, man. But you training so much. That's what it is. You haven't taken that time to, let your skill set deteriorate. In other words, right?
I don't, I'm not gonna, it's just too much shit going on, especially just when I want to relax and tone it down. The shit hits the fan out there, and there's like fucking all kind of riots and fucking
Yeah.
people going crazy and shit. And I was like, I'm not stopping now. In fact, I'm
Wow.
adding to my training. I've always done some knife work, but
Yeah.
now I've added some Tim Kennedy style, protector type sheepdog response training,
Sheepdog
and
response. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm up at my training if anything,
There you go. Now you
Yeah.
into weapons too, into firearms and stuff too.
Uh, I have a gun. I carry a gun. I have a license, and um, but I'm not an expert. I could never teach. Like I could teach any kind of martial art,
Yeah.
but I could never teach anything with a gun. Just like, yeah, I know how to point it and pull the trigger and
Right.
draw it, and I practice drawing a lot. Like,
Yeah.
you know, drawing it is something I do on my, before breakfast. I'll go outside in the sun, just draw my gun out. I practice that, and then I practice different knife draws and stuff. So those I practice a lot, but I could never teach a gun class. I could,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm not there at all. I'm never gonna be. I'm never gonna try to be. The gun is my equalizer when the
Mm-hmm.
shit hits the fan. If the shit hits the fan, other than
Yeah.
that, I'm gonna stick with my Hawaiian Kempo.
I feel you, man. At least you know your lane, right? That's pretty cool,
Yeah,
though, man. But taking those other classes, I'm an avid shooter also, and Illinois is like you said, so much shit hitting the fan out there. You got to be prepared on all levels, man. It's
all
crazy.
levels.
That
It's
is crazy.
crazy. I saw I saw I saw like 3 people just yesterday wearing a mask.
Are you serious? Yeah, yeah,
Wearing them still. It's still. I'm and
yeah.
I still there's still people out there getting their 90-second booster.
That's
They're still out there.
insane.
They're still
Insane.
out there. They're still out there.
Man.
They're still running around. Oh, there's climate change. They're still out there. You
Man.
know,
You
oh,
know
you
what?
gotta. So yeah, I'm
They're out
still
here
training.
too, man. They're out here too, man. I never had one, never will have one. And people out there tell me, you gotta get it, man. You're gonna be sick. I'm like, God gave me an immune system. I'm all right. You
Yeah,
know, it's
it's pretty. So yeah, so I keep training. That's why my training is heavier than ever. And not for people that get the shot.
yeah.
It's for everything behind it.
Yeah, yep. I know exactly what you're saying. Everything behind it. I let those people do their own business, but I know things are coming. Now, I'm not that paranoid guy, but writing's on the wall, my friend. Writing's on the wall.
It
That's
is.
awesome. Now, do you get a lot of older guys coming into your gym, or because now everyone's trying to train, which is smart, but you
Yeah.
get maybe new guys that come in and fresh off, old.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. And part of it is me, my design. Part of it's
Hmm.
just they're coming in. But when I see guys like a little older and shit, and we stop. I talk to everyone. I mean, wherever
Yeah,
I go, I'm like saying, hey, I'm talking to everyone. I talk to everyone I see, every dog, every baby. I kiss every baby I see.
that's awesome,
Uh,
man.
but everybody I talk to is like, if it's close to my age, I go, bro, are you still training? I hope you're still training, right? No, I haven't trained. I played football in high school, But I always try to talk them into it, and it works sometimes. I
Yeah.
have probably, I don't know how many I have, but my group right now, I have probably like there's 40 in my classes,
Wow.
um, probably like 40, maybe 45, and none of them want to be a fighter. And their age is from let's say 28 to 70.
Wow.
And I have a few guys that are in their 60s and even more in their 50s, and so there's that group, and we're close, and we have the same kind of mindset, and the same kind of politics, and we train together, and
Yeah.
you know, like I said, there's none of them want to fight in a cage. They just want to be able to protect themselves. My best friend's an orthopedic surgeon, which is
Oh,
good to
wow.
have when I'm needing this knee.
Right.
Um, but and then I have a guy that's the biggest employer in our whole Central Coast. He has a huge business, really a good businessman. He's one of my black belts. He helps me out a lot.
Oh,
It's
man.
just I'm the the sheriff of our county is one of my black belts.
Are you serious? That's awesome,
Yeah,
man.
it is awesome. I love this town. I love it here, and I love my community.
Yeah.
They did parts of it are a little extreme, like they had the BLM things and shit in
Mm-hmm.
some
Yep.
of the
Yep.
towns, and here here it was really small. We had guns. Did you hear about the guns on the roof?
No. No,
Oh my
back
God.
when was that back when Rodney King days? I remember those guys out there. Is that the
No,
same
no,
spot? No.
no, no. You're talking about LA riots. I was
Oh,
there
that
too.
was LA Rise. That was, yeah.
Yeah, he brought. I was a registered nurse. They brought. No, I was a respiratory therapist at the time. They brought him to our hospital.
Wow.
I swear to God, they brought him to our
Holy
hospital.
cow.
Yeah, but that was those days. No, okay. If you can Google the pit gun on the roof, or the pit martial arts guns on the roof.
Guns on the
We
roof.
we yeah, Pit's guns on the roof. We had we were told that there was going to be a riot, right? And there's been
Yeah.
riots. This is during the riot season when
Yeah.
when they had all the BLM riots, right?
Blocking everything and burning down
Yeah,
everything. Yeah.
burning
Yeah.
down, killing 12
Yeah.
cops or 12 people died,
It's insane.
and how much glass? How many buildings
Yeah.
businesses they broke through, set on fire, and
Insane.
so a cop buddy of mine told me they're coming. They're going to have a BLM riot in our town. I was like, what? We live in Arroyo Grande, but there's going to be one. And he said they're busting people in from Fresno and LA. It's going to be big, and
Wow.
you need to do something to your business because they're going to break your windows. They're piling up bricks. So they have like I don't know what they like. There's like places where they pile all these bricks, and then the
Oh,
rioters will go
yeah.
get them.
They have pallets stashed
So
around the place. Yeah, I remember
yeah,
that. Yeah.
so he was telling me that. So he's like, you need to like you need to make sure it doesn't affect your business. I don't have riot insurance. I don't even know, and I've never trained anyone for riot. I've never
Yeah.
trained myself for riot, so I didn't know what to do. So come the night before, the day before the riot was supposed to hit, I called some of my students together. I was like, well, we got to protect the gym, man. I even had a couple of my students from online. I have an online dojo, you
Yeah,
know,
I saw that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I had a couple of them come too to protect me. And so we lined up. We lined up a bunch of us. We had our concealed weapon, but then I put some guys on the roof with AR-15s just to make a presence,
You're right.
just to try to make sure that the people didn't come to our building. They went somewhere else.
Right, right, right.
So, okay, so now it didn't get big. It wasn't a big riot. There was like 10 fucking white guys that went to Cal Poly yelling, fuck the police, fuck the police. They were like gay. And I think they were all gay. Every one of them was gay. But so basically nothing really happened, but I didn't know that. So we were prepared. So there's all these pictures of the guns on the roof, guys. You'll see it when you look at them in
I gotta
Google.
check that out, man.
Yeah,
Holy
and
cow.
but all of a sudden it's like the pit, white supremacy, the pit. Um, they started fucking in all over social media, hashtag boycott the pit,
Are
and
you serious? I don't remember
yeah,
that. Holy cow. I don't
yeah,
remember that. Holy cow.
yeah, hashtag the pit, and they had
That's
a city
insane.
council meeting where they were trying to shut us down,
Are you
and
kidding me?
yeah, and so the mayor, who happens to be a Democrat, but she picked my side, and she
Yeah.
said, "No, John, John, I don't agree with, I don't agree with what John did, but it's 100% within his rights, and he's not in trouble at all. Everything he did was legal. Those were, the
Awesome.
gun. He was on his property with those guns.
Right.
So, so it kind of, a bunch of people quit my gym at that time.
Oh,
They were like,
really? Over that?
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
they were
gee.
calling me, they were calling me a white fucking supremacist
Oh
and
my
all kind of
gosh.
shit. So then, but then it didn't. Like for some reason, like 10 days later, some people started coming in, and they were like, not just coming in, this like they were coming in saying, yeah, no, never even thought about martial arts, but I love what you did for the community. I love you protecting our community, and people start stopping me at stores and shit, and
Oh
giving me a
man.
giving me a hug and saying thank you for protecting our community, and it's guys like you, that protect.
That's
So
awesome.
next thing I know, we're having like record months at our gym, and more people are signing up, and the gym's doing the
Wow.
the gym's doing now better today than it ever was.
Oh
So
man. Hey,
so I'm
congratulations
happy.
for standing your ground, brother. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Good things
yeah.
come from you stand your ground, brother. That is
So that's
cool.
it.
I can't wait to look that up, man. That is good stuff,
Yeah,
man. Yeah.
yeah.
What? Yes, you say you said you have a dojo online. So tell me about that, so these people hear about that.
Um, it's yeah. It's it. Wait, hold on. Somebody's here.
Sure.
It's who's that? Is someone here? UPS? Okay. Oh, thanks, man. Thank you very much. Anyway, sorry about
Hey,
that.
no problem.
Yeah. So, what were we talking about?
The dojo
Dojo.
online. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, the dojo. Um, it's you can go you can sign up for two different things. One is you go online. I've never done this before, and when I say I've never done this before, I'm just going to relay this as because us older guys, we're always passing on lessons to the younger guys. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So I've never, never done that before. Believe me when I say it. But if you ever hear a woman say that to you during anything sexual, never
Yeah.
believe it. Never believe it. If
Never.
they say no, if they say they've never done that before,
Right.
they've done that more times than they can count.
Exactly.
It's true. It's so true.
I love it. I love it.
My wife tries to argue with me about that. It's like, it's so true. God damn. But anyway,
But
so it's true. It's true.
that's awesome, man.
But
Oh,
the online thing is it's just it's like a course, and I studied up on how to do courses. So I started doing this online course where I did a belt system where you can go from white to black by with with Zoom and with all kind of other things I was using,
yeah.
and so I started it, and my guys are telling me, "Oh man, you're selling out, man. If you're going to sell, you can't train people online. That's selling out." And I was like, "Well, yeah, well I can because I'm me and I'm going to do it." But
You're
then
gonna do it.
and those same people, let me tell you, those same people, every one of them, every fucking one of them, when the Corona thing hit and they buckled and they closed down, they they started doing their classes and their belt.
And they're where? I lost you, brother. Oh man, we lost you. Can you hear me there, John? Hello? Hello? Oh man. Okay, I lost you there for a minute, buddy. Yeah. You back? Yeah. All right.
So anyway, so all these guys were telling me that when the Corona thing hit and they closed down because they were so I don't know, obedient. Um,
Yeah.
they started doing online classes because that was the thing. And then everybody's doing Zoom classes, and they were doing their belt level. They were doing their belt promotions online. And I was like, didn't you say I was selling out for doing that? So
Yep.
everybody started doing it. So anyway, I have an online course. It's the pit.tv. That's all it
Okay.
is, the pit.tv. And we have we have courses where you can get your belt. I don't have any black belts yet, but it's a
Yeah.
process. I get to know them too, pretty good. It's pretty cool, man. But
Yeah.
there's also one that's cheaper, not as much money, and you can just go along with our classes all the time, and learn
Yeah.
a lot of the techniques, but you don't want to go for a belt.
Okay. You just want to do self defense and stuff like that and
Yeah,
everything there.
yeah.
Okay. I remember, was it last year I was in Vegas and I was in a cab and talking to a guy. He was telling me his fiance was getting her blue belt or something online. But it was karate or something. I was like, oh, that's unique, So hey, more people are doing it though, man.
Yeah, I know.
If it works, brother, I'm telling you, this has been amazing, man. I tell you, just listen to you, man, getting to know you a little bit. This is great stuff. Hey, before we get out of here, man, because I know you've been busy and I
Yeah.
appreciate you more than anything taking the time of your day to do this. How can everybody reach you, man? Throw out all your contact stuff. I want everybody to be able to get in touch with you on everything you're doing, brother.
Thanks, man. I think that's the pit.tv because my my Instagram, which was pretty much kicking it, I think I was getting like 24,000 people, and I was growing it.
Oh,
Boom, they
yeah.
shut me down. They took my Instagram away. So
Why?
I have no idea. I never got all it says is I violated their something. I
No, geez.
violated
Those.
their terms or something, and I don't know why. I sent a couple emails asking why, and I throw out some political stuff here and there, nothing
Yeah.
crazy, and I throw out um, it was either that or something with the U.S. copyright something, but I've been I don't know. So I'm starting a
Yeah.
new Instagram, and I just started on TikTok, and it's just you just go to John Hackleman, and then on
Okay.
Facebook John Hackleman, and then Instagram is going to be the Pitmaster. So
The Pit Master on Instagram. Yeah, I'm gonna put that here so I can look it up and
I
follow
think
you.
it's the
Pit
Pit
Master.
dot Master.
Okay, the Pit Dot Master. I'll check. I'll find you, man, because I found you on everything already. I follow you a lot,
Hey,
brother.
thank you, man.
Man,
Appreciate it.
hey, man. I appreciate you, man. I'm telling you. Like I said before, I don't believe in idols and all that kind of stuff, but you've been a guy I've been following for a long time, man.
Yeah, thank you,
But
brother.
man,
Thank you,
hey,
brother.
brother, thank you so much. What's that?
Thank you very much, brother.
Hey, man, anytime, man. But I appreciate you taking the time to do this. But guys, listen up. That's been John Hackleman, the man, the myth, the living legend, the owner of the Pit. Look him up, find him. Hey, with that, we'll talk to you soon, John.
Thank you,
Thank you
brother.
so much again,
Bye.
brother. Take care of yourself. All right, bye.
Oh, man.